Street Fighter League Livecast talk show presented by Toga TV. I am togashiazrael, your host, and this is episode 3, week 3, match day 2. Joining me today, the usual suspects on the panel. First up, Vancouver Street Battle Vega Specialist, and I promise you he washes his hand every time after he does the licking gesture with his... My goodness, I can't even take you seriously. This is Geki. How you doing, my man?
Good. How are you?
All right. To his right on my screen, which you guys are seeing, 17th place at Northwest Majors this past weekend, losing only to, I believe, Dr. Danny Pham and Gustavo 801 Strider.
Yeah.
So, flap like a bird in Hawaii for the Fong Specialist of Vancouver Street Battle. This is Mortsy. What's up, man?
Fuck Eve.
Straight and to the point, and finally, keeping it spoiler-free, because that's the way it has to be. Never the end game until the last pixel is gone from his health bar. The Captain America of Beyond the Fist. This is SplicedHelix. SplicedHelix, how are you?
What's up?
Alright, so just a reminder, all video footage from today's episode is used with permission from Capcom. Visit twitch.tv/CapcomFighters, youtube.com/CapcomFighters, and facebook.com/CapcomFighters for all your Street Fighter League and Capcom Pro Tour action. Let's get started, get warmed up, hit those buttons, smash some faces in, build some meter. This is your first hit. Coming up, we review Team Inferno versus Team Storm. Check this out, guys.
Could close this out right now. Send Team Storm's captain out of this team battle.
Bullhorn right through the projectile as well. Oh, and the startup of it. Command grab.
Oh, E3.
That's -8.
Okay, stun was almost a factor right there for Idom. He almost had a stun. Oh, he got the chain! Dash up, stand like kick.
Not gonna be able to punish that.
Oh,
Does it again? Well, you can't throw the can out if he quick rises. Good awareness there from JB, knowing that Idom might be a little unfamiliar with the matchup. Oh no, he swiped away. He caught that stand medium kick from Idom. Here comes that whirlwind shot pressure. One more throw away, actually, or he gets an overhand and it could be the end of it. Activation after the bullhead EX. That's going to be a punish. JB knows very well what he's supposed to do.
All right, guys. So that was the first matchup. Once again, we are seeing Idom banned out of his match because he cannot use Laura. So I feel like we're going to talk about this pretty much every week from now until the end of the season. But I'm going to ask the question anyways. Despite the fact that Birdie is in fact a solid character, will we ever, in this tournament, see Idom's Laura? SplicedHelix, we'll start with you.
I mean, he took a round, so yay. He got one. I don't see anybody not going with that strategy. It's working. The only time that I think it might actually come down to us seeing his Laura is, I think, the second time they fight Inferno, that Punk will get cocky and he'll be like, his Laura's not even that good. Let him use his Laura and see where it goes from there. I mean, what if they ban, Samurai's at Akuma? Then they don't have to worry about Akuma at all. So that's the only time I see that happening.
All right, Geki, same question. Will we actually get to see Laura at all? And if Birdie is not the answer for Idom, who is?
The thing is, the way he plays Birdie, it helps the fact that Laura has a command grab, and Idom's command grab game is very good, so he understands how to use it. But it's totally different with a character like Birdie, because the speed is not there. You have no V-skill dash, the speed is not there. The movement options are much more limited with Birdie. A much more slower character, more footsie-based character, but Laura's not really like that. He likes to counter poke a lot more, and Birdie's not as... I mean, he's good at it, but he's much better as a whiff punisher and a wall, and also being a grappler. The only time I'd see Laura coming out or not getting banned is if another team has an advantage over Laura with all their characters. But I don't think there's a single team right now that has an advantage against Laura. For example, Brian F. hates Idom and hates Laura, so I don't see any time of them playing that Laura would get not banned. You know what I mean?
Hate is such a strong word for a particular person, but if that's what Brian F. said and you heard it, my goodness.
Talk to
Mortsy, close us out on this topic. If not Laura, who, and will we actually get to see it?
I love that it's just like, it's not even a hate for Laura. It's just, Geki says Brian F. has a passionate fire burning him for despising IDOM as a person.
No, for playing Laura. No.
Okay, see, that makes sense too. But I agree with Helix. He's above me on mine, but I think he's below me on the stream. But
yeah.
The only time we're ever going to see the Laura is if some team, and like you said, most likely Team Inferno or Team Psycho, because Toy is like, they're the only two people, two captains I could see being like, this guy's Laura sucks. We could beat it anyways. But as long as Laura, or as long as Idom has a chance, or like as long as he's capable of carrying because of the format, if he can carry his team, Laura is way too much of a risk. It's so easy to just die against that character. Even though, yeah, your neutral's not as very strong, but like you don't give a character specialist his character. So no, we won't see it. The birdie looked a lot better this time, though. Way better in this match. Did take rounds against JB, who is a very strong round.
SplicedHelix, you had something to say?
No, that was
one round.
Oh, he took one round. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, that I still feel like this is going to be a discussion point, like just sort of the bans in general. It's unfortunate that we're not seeing the IDOM that everybody wants to see, and I think Team Storm is really getting punished for that. We'll see if they can turn things around. Let's bring up the next video clip from Team Inferno versus Team Storm.
Promo codes only, though.
Oh, promo codes only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Caught the medium kick, but only went for the red fireball. Nice side switch there from Punk, but no buttons there from Samurai to try to wiggle his way through.
Yeah, just decides to block. That's what you want to do. The back and forth still gets to throw. Wake up with the jab, air throw. Punk's offense getting a lot stronger.
Yeah, he's cleaned it up a lot, right? No more stray hits. He's making it nice and compact against Samurai to force any errors. That is a confirm if I ever seen it. It's a good amount of damage. And that's the KO. You know, it's so deceptive when you wait for that icicle drop.
It's her.
All right, guys. We talked about it last week. Punk's depth in terms of character selection is expected to carry Team Inferno and their success. How did you guys feel about the Colleen pick, and is it better than his Cammy, starting with Geki?
I think Colleen definitely fits him better because he's more of a footsie player, really strong whiff punishes and kind of screen control and presence. Although Cammy's throw game and walk speed and shimmy game is a lot better than Colleen, I think. The way he wants to play neutral, I think, is more in favor of Colleen. So I think, honestly, either character is really strong, and he can just swap between. I don't think there's a disadvantage for choosing either character that he's shown so far. So I think it's based on the player and, maybe personal matchup experience with those two characters based on the matchup he's playing currently. So I think Colleen fit in that situation against Akuma.
Mortsy, how do you feel about that Akuma-Colleen matchup, and is there anything that's going to stop Punk right now?
I don't think there's anything that can stop Punk. We're never going to see Karen, because it's the same kind of thing with IDOM, right? If the chance of you playing and beating the entirety of Team Inferno becomes very small as soon as you hand Punk Karen. Because regardless of how strong or how well you can deal with JB and the guy on their team who's escaping me for some reason.
Brother legs.
Yeah, brother legs. It doesn't matter because Karen is standing there doing crouch medium kick. The Colleen I love. I love the Colleen. Counter poking. Punk's spacing is so good. Though the difference with Colleen is that there's no she can't really take advantage of people walking away at the same violently as Cammy or as Karen, where their general buffer tool where they get their advantage is that low poke and the crouch medium kick, whereas Colleen, sure, she like it's +1 on block, and so it kind of makes you want to not walk backwards, but it's not nearly the same as Vantage. You can counter hit combo, but it's still not quite there. But it seems like this is the character he loves as like a secondary. I also would be interested to hear from him whether or not he's picking based on the entirety of his opponent's team or whether he's picking for the individual matchup that he intends on playing. I don't know the dynamic of the Akuma Kami versus the Akuma Colleen matchup, and I don't want to throw out like a bad opinion. You know, I'm not super sure. That's a hard one because they both have things that they can do in that matchup. Though both of them can. Colleen can probably melt Akuma far harder than Kami can. With that feature 2, God, feature 2. Yeah. I really do like the Colleen pick. And we can see whatever character we want from him, too. Like, he doesn't care. He can just pick whatever character he wants for the one win. And if he has to play again, then it doesn't really matter. He also has JB. It's really nice. He doesn't necessarily have to pick a character for the entire opponent because he has a strong teammates in Broly Legs and JB. So he doesn't necessarily... He can kind of pick 1 or 2 of his characters based on the opposing matchups, but a lot of the time he can just be like, JB's going to win this one, I don't have to worry about it. Like, especially if he goes second every time, that means JB will already have played, or JB will be playing next, which means they know who he's going to be playing against. So he can be like, they're not going to win, JB's going to win this, I don't have to worry about that person. So he's always going to pick with that extra information. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting that they went with a different order this time around, and they actually put Punk third, and we got to see JB play a couple of games here. SplicedHelix, Team Inferno was your pick to win it all. It's looking really, really good right now, despite Broly Legs not having won a game yet, but still showing a very, very strong Chun-Li, not getting blown out by any means or any stretch. Do you like how Punk is playing right now, and is there anyone who can stop him?
I mean, from the get-go, I didn't think there was anybody that was going to stop him. But that's why I picked Inferno, was just because of Punk. I think Colleen is different enough from Karen or Cammy to where it's a strength for him. So it's something that nobody's used to his playstyle, the way that he adapts it for Colleen. So I think it's a fine pick. I don't think there's anybody that maybe Knuckle do. Maybe. But that's the only thing. That's the only thing that I see challenging.
Not after this past performance.
Well, yeah, I was trying to give your team a little bit of prop.
So we are going to talk about the Team Gale matchup in just a little bit. One more thing with the Team Inferno and the Team Storm matchup. We're going to very quickly take a look at the play of JB. Take a look at this.
Keep spinning, Mixer. Let's see what you do. Good buttons alongside it. Ah, the banana hammer. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, Steve.
Mm-hmm. The blonde hair one, too. Okay. All right.
Real summer-esque. Or maybe the spring breeze. Who knows?
Good neutral jump right there.
Ooh. Nice check down a low forward, got the spinning mixer afterwards. Classical firing away again, not punishable for the X-Tackle. So it's a great way to kind of close the gap, but you do lose your turn immediately after.
Let's go for a tackle. Back dash, to back.
V trigger 2, it's what Classical's known for, and he knows the matchup. I like that idea, using the armor given to him in V trigger 2 to go past the fireball.
Needs to be careful. CA is on the table.
Out of there. Oh, big punish! Not big enough.
Needs to be careful.
Oh, the overhead just slightly missing the target. JB wasn't ready for the whip punish. Gets the throw instead.
See, and that's what I was talking about. Take his time. Classical.
No, I mean, he had the right idea, right? He had V-Trigger 2 to go past the Azifa Fireball from JB. Almost headed down after that punish for the Eagle Spike, but there's just one more hit away. JB used that to his advantage to sneak up and get the throw. Caught him midway through with the knees. Great bait there on the EX spinning mixer.
Punish. Really good as well. I like that. You use crouch and medium kick first and then chase with the crouch and medium punch because they auto-corrected, but still puts him in the corner.
Oh, he might have been able to catch that jump back, but still the frame trap there from JB. Going into that combo. Good amount of damage. He caught him with the neutral jump roundhouse. Stop the combo midway through. I thought he was going to go into Eagle Spike after forward strong.
All right, so there we saw a little bit of how strong JB's Rashid actually is. JB is proving once again that Rashid is still a top-tier character. He ended up going 4-0 in this set. Granted, 2-0 against Idom, but then he went 2-0 against Classico. Will we see the Rashid get target banned at some point out of Team Inferno? Let's start with Mortsy.
No. Punk Karen still exists, unfortunately. Like I said, I kind of covered a little bit of it in my last point, where as much as you'd like to ban like JB's Rashid, and if he was on another team, maybe that would be like a chance, but not when you have Punk having the opportunity to carry on his Karen. That just, especially when like teams aren't even beating his Colleen, they're not beating his Cammy. Why would you bother wasting a ban on a person who has literally, or like, why would you bother banning away another person when there's the main person can't even lose on his secondaries? Like, you have bigger fish to fry than one other guy's character. Like, we're not going to see Rashid banned. Also, though, I think that a little bit of him going 4-0 was just the people he was playing against, this like Team Storm. I take back my psychoanalysis, and I think Team Storm is proving themselves to be the weakest team, despite the fact that Idom's Birdie is not the worst birdie here. That title still belongs to Toy.
100%.
But yeah, we're not like JB is going to get to play Rashid for the rest of the league.
All right, SplicedHelix, do you believe in the strength of JB backing up Punk, and is it JB's strength that's making sure that Punk can get away with whatever he wants, or is it just Punk that damn good?
I think Punk's just that good, but JB as a player is just, well, not just as strong, but just as much of a factor for the ban choices. I think if Punk continues to be dominant no matter who he plays, somebody will look at that and adjust their strategy and take JB's Rashid away to see what he has in secondary. So they might not win. Punk might run the whole table with Karen, but if they take away JB's Rashid, they might be able to beat him as well.
So is it actually important to think about how each of these victories matter, where like a 3-0 victory is worth more than a 3-1 or 3-2 victory? Would that factor into potentially banning Rashid as well? Close this one out, Geki.
I don't really think so, to be honest, but I think targeting Rashid is a bigger deal now because Punk has proven time and time again, and with every time we see him play in this tournament, that he's just strong enough and capable enough to win regardless if Karen is in the picture or not. At least by banning Rashid, you're doing damage to the team severely, and there's no other character that JB plays at the level of Rashid. And since you're not doing any work or doing any better by banning Karen, because he's still beating you with Cammy and Colleen, at least give your team a chance by neutering one other player. You know what I mean? Even Brawly Legs, you could do that too, maybe if your team has a bad matchup against Chun. But at the same time, JB is amazing. He's a lab monster. He's a huge threat, and he's a character specialist. So just like Idom, why not ban his character and make him near useless?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of with Mortsy on this one. It's really, really hard not to give yourself a chance potentially against Punk, no matter how hard it is, but leaving the other two with their mains might actually be incredibly dangerous. Right now, it's Team Inferno running the table at 2-0. We'll see if they can continue their hot streak going into tomorrow's Week 4 matchups. Let's get going now. You guys have some meter. You threw your first shots. Let's spend it or save it. Team Frost versus Team Gale.
Oh, Toga, turn it up a little bit as well on the YouTube, I think. The max, oh my god.
Don't take the throw, take the knockdown, push to the corner, steal the round. Nephew, match point. Same side.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Power of Gaia nullified against Cammy. She has earth resistance plus 25.
Okay.
It's in her boots of peace. Knuckle getting that stun very quickly over Nephew. Oh, we've seen it happen multiple times. Crouch Fierce activation. Here we go. Don't count out the president. He's always in the running.
Oh, they're staying like it. That could have been a pro kick. That's gonna give him meaty on the dash.
And you saw the counter hit? The V
it
reversal?
catches the V reversal. Oh, the six!
He catches low.
Oh, the counter hit! Oh my god!
If he gets a command grab, it's over.
Walks back, you said it itself. She cannot do that versus Cammy. Overhead whips! Jab, anything!
He does it! Nephew with a huge turnaround over Team Gale!
All right, guys. You saw the president. So this week, Nephew was the target ban. Technical difficulties on somebody's end there.
I dropped my snowball.
Okay. All right, so let's actually get back to the question. This happens. We are live. Don't forget this is a live cast, so things actually happen on the show. Okay.
He's okay.
All right, so that was the president on the side of Team Frost captain Nephew. Spend it or save it is Nephew's G. The real deal. Let's start with the snowball drop in Geki.
I mean, just like how my snowball just gave up and got hit in the legs. How do you react to that low? You can't. That started the whole thing. He was gonna lose, and even though he made amazing calls on defense in the clutch, like in those last situations when they're close quarters, and using this crouching jab to check the dive kick that he was probably going for, and then walking back and doing a low forward to catch Knuckle standing up. That was amazing. You saw there was a few situations where he got a confirm that he didn't continue with like down medium punch, and also was counter hit as well, so he had extra time to do so. But because this is secondary, obviously he's not going to capitalize on the same situations that he would if he was playing Colleen. But that was really clutch against Knuckle-Doo's Cammy, who he's been playing a lot longer than probably Nephew has been playing G. So I'm impressed at the composure, and well done.
SplicedHelix, do you believe in the president of the earth coming from Team Frost? And you predicted that Team Frost would actually have a shot at, or actually all three of you, I think, actually predicted that Team Frost had a shot at upsetting Team Gale, which ended up being the case. It was 3-2. It was an OCV for the president. How good is this G?
It's scary. And, I play Guile. I don't like G as it is. But Rob TV was one round away from just taking the whole thing, and Nephew OC he reversed 3-0'd him. It was crazy. I think it's a solid character for him. I think he's got what both Idom and Toy are lacking is a secondary that's worth consideration that you might lose to.
All right. Final question is going to Mortsy. You got to see the volatility of the president firsthand in your winners round bracket against 801 Strider. And, you still got out of the pool and losers. That's fine.
Yeah.
How good is this character? And could this character potentially be warranting a ban on the side of, if you're playing against Team Frost?
I don't think you ban the character. I just think I still think it's hard, man. Team Frost actually has a lot of depth. The only person you could reasonably ban would be Dual Kevin, because I don't know of any secondaries that he really plays. I know, but up the stuffs, Akuma looked very sharp against Punk in the previous week. This G is obviously a threat because it's freaking G, and he's the Abigail of Season 4. He's the 3.0 Abigail of Season 4, basically. It doesn't matter how good your matchup is against this character because he can just kill you. Like, where the only decisions that you get to make are on Wake Up. Like, you have to deal with a mix-up. Any character, oh my god, any character that can backdash and still command throw you, like his backdash, it beats, like he backdashes after he knocks you down. And he has safe jump set up. This character is absurd.
Yeah.
And I'm not just salty. I didn't lose because, gee, I lost because I'm an idiot. And because Strider's just a good player in general. But the G is very strong. Nephew actually has been playing this character since he came out. It wasn't just like he's been playing the character for a while and shown his interest. And now this secondary is obviously a threat. Mind you, Jesus, block your toes. If he has V-Trigger, you have to know that is coming. And then, is this the one where he dropped 2 supers? Or is that...
Yep.
Yeah. Like, there are so many opportunities for him to, like, not lose. Not even just win, but just to not lose. And he kind of gave up a lot of them. So, the character's good. Do choked. But I think you still have... I don't think you ban it, depending on how you feel. I could see people definitely banning it. I personally wouldn't, but I can definitely see people doing it because they just really hate the character and the degeneracy of his V-Trigger. And his bloody command, bro.
Yeah, fair enough. After Gustavo, of course, won Northwest Majors this past weekend, do you guys see more of an uptick on G in general? This is just outside of Street Fighter League. And are we going to see more of this G down the road in this tournament? Start with Geki.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, people in Japan think G is low tier. They probably still think he's low tier, and they'll just think Strider's really good.
All right.
Because the thing is, yeah.
The thing with Japan's tier list is they always base it off of either who they play in Japan or results.
But I think it comes mostly from emotion. So, like, they don't feel G is strong. Because on paper... Yeah, no, 100%. Because on paper, G is not that good, right? But if you play him, that is threatening as heck. Like, you cannot deal with all his options. He has great normals. He can be a zoner. He beats his own archetype. Like, he beats other grapplers by zoning them out and out-footseeing them.
I wouldn't call him a grappler, though. He just
Definitely not. But he can be a grappler, for sure.
He's a complete character that happens to have a command grab.
Yes. He has aspects of Balrog, he has aspects of Abigail, he has aspects of Laura, he has like ton of anti-zoning. He not having a DP and a 3-frame really doesn't hurt him at all, to be honest. Like on defense for sure, but when a player is good, like Gustavo and several others that we're seeing, including Nephew, who's already fundamentally strong with Colleen, it just carries over and helps a lot with a character like this that kind of excels at many different aspects of Street Fighter in general, and then you can just showcase how good they are with their V-Trigger.
Also, I don't understand why that stupid ball doesn't take away from his V-Trigger. I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we were talking about the V-skill on the side of G. I think I hate it more than most as a Nash player, as I cannot punish that in any way, shape, or form. But moving forward, like... I think Japan has seen the threat of G now. A bunch of them saw him at NorCal Regional. It's not just Gustavo. We saw Danka Diaz as well, giving a lot of the Japanese players a hard time with this particular character. And now we're seeing it at Street Fighter League with Nephew. Is there a weakness in this character that you could exploit if you're on any of the other teams? Mortsy.
I'd like to point out, I'm pretty sure 801 Strider kicked the shit out of Itabashi as well.
He did.
At one of the
And
NorCal Regionals.
Daigo as well.
And a slaughtering. That matchup does not look fun. Though I think They could put it down to the matchup itself, but God, it just seems garbage. He gets level 2, and you're just like, well, guess I'm done. Guess that's it. I'm never getting in again. That fireball against Zangief, where it pushes you across the screen, it's not happening. There is going to be a new surge of Gs, as I've seen. Dank Diaz is starting to play him more. Chris CCH, who already has a G, wants to play him more. Just lurking in them discords. But we're going to see a lot of this character.
All right, last word, SplicedHelix.
I hate G.
I mean, you're a Guile player. I'm a Nash player. It's the same thing. I hate G as well.
That's it. If they fix his V trigger to where the ball thing takes away from the V meter, then okay, it'll be a little bit easier. But man, that dude pops V trigger and you're just
The V skill doesn't take V meter?
no. When he's in trigger and he pops the ball that flies down at you, that's huge and hits you even if you're crouching in the corner from across the screen. Doesn't take V meter.
Cannot.
What? Only the grounded one does?
Only the specials.
No,
Only
but I
the
thought standing V skill reduces V meter, no?
No way. I
don't-
genuinely don't believe
Okay,
you.
that's...
Okay, we need to double check our facts on that one.
The
SplicedHelix.
air one, maybe not. Air one, maybe not, but definitely the grounded V skill
check it out.
fireball.
We
does
will
drain
discuss
V.
this in post. That's going to be something that we need to talk about, because if
Jesus
that
Christ.
doesn't actually happen, I'm already upset with the lack of scaling after the command grab for G. Not just in V-Trigger, just in general. I'm upset with how active the V-Skill is. Don't tell me it doesn't drain V-Gauge either, because that is
it's
insane.
doesn't drain at all, or it's very, 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 very.
Wow. Absolute wow. We are totally salty.
We can cancel things on block, and we're good.
All right.
Would be my...
That would
Yeah,
be interesting. Let's see if Capcom actually listens to some
Move
of this
on.
stuff. Let's move on. We were talking about more on this matchup a little bit later, but we did touch on it a little bit. Oops. We're live. Things happen. Okay. So we talked a little bit about secondary characters specifically for Team Frost. We're going to talk about Up to Snuff next. Check out this clip.
Team captain, nephew, saying that if NuckleDu is smothered when it comes to offense, he'll usually have to bust out with DPs. We'll see if that's the case. Up to Snuff at a deficit here.
I love that jump in attempt right there. Stand hard punch. NuckleDu getting started once again.
It's good normal too, being able to just buffer, stand fierce into the spiral arrow. Depending on which one you do, you get an Oki.
Great awareness. Goes for the interrupt. Tries to dash out. NuckleDu after putting himself in the corner. One EX bar on the side up to Snuff. Getting pretty close to that trigger as well. Dash up. After the side smoke.
A little bit more passive there from Up to Snuff. He's mostly looking for the counter poke and the V skill usage there. He's backing off. He doesn't want to contest. Using the time freeze there from the V trigger.
Dash up this time. NuckleDu holding back. Finally decides to backdash to get out of there.
Ooh, no anti-airs there from NuckleDu, but either way, gets the crouch jab and converts. There's the activation there from NuckleDu. He does have access to an enhanced dive kick. Probably what Up to Stuff was looking for. Just snuck his way through with the throw though.
Wasn't ready for the anti-air. Just blocks the dive kick. Still has the corner in control. Not anymore. Back throw.
He just talked about it. He just mentioned that, and you can see I'm looking over at nephew. He's nodding his head. He's like, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you. And the conversion there from the counter hit jab. Crouch jab and a crouch draw. Normally not a natural combo.
Conversation piece earlier.
Oh, big time stun.
Full C8 available.
That's it. Yo, NuckleDu is definitely going to use that meter 1,000% of the time. That's going to be a quick 2-0.
All right, guys. Last week...
We really just started a clip of Up to Stuff getting spanked?
Yes. So last week, Punk called Up to Stuff, quote, the strongest player on Team Frost, saying that he should have even been the captain over Nephew, and that was why he was target banned, and then Nikali was the target. This time around, he has the Nikali. Got absolutely lambasted by NuckleDu. Gentlemen,
Good word.
thank you. Spend it or save it. Up to Snuff's Nikali, worth the target ban from last week. SplicedHelix.
I mean, the results speak for themselves. I think Punk was right when comparing Nephew's Colleen to Up to Snuff's Nikali, but dang man, that G. So I guess he's wrong now, which is completely okay because everybody knows who to plan for. You know, it was not a good showing from Up to Snuff.
All right, same question, Mortsy. Like, what do we see the Akuma again this time around? Because the Akuma looks significantly better than what we saw from that Nikali, or was that just all NuckleDu being NuckleDu?
I think that was a lot of NuckleDu's playstyle being really weird when he plays Cammy. He does a lot of jump forward without dive kicking. He does it at really good ranges. Like, really good ranges. He just kind of holds up forward half the time, it looks like. And Nikali has, I think, probably the weakest of anti-airs, or he has weaker anti-airs without the DP as well. Like, especially cross-up, and if you're not cross-cutting things. But I do really think that was... I do think it was due, and not necessarily Up to Snuff. Battery just had a really tough time. But his Nikali has done crazy things. He won an online qualifier, obviously. He is a strong player. I'm genuinely surprised he got spanked as hard as he did. So I'm saying that it was mostly due. I still think you probably ban one of Nephew's characters though, as opposed to Up to Snuff. I don't think Punk was right, but I'm like debating in my own head as I like try to answer like, is that right? But no, I think you ban Colleen or G, maybe. And then just like leave Up to Snuff on his character. He's a threat, but so is everyone else.
The Punk problem. Which character do you ban?
Yeah.
All right, Geki, do you think that Akuma would have been probably a better choice here on the side of Up to Snuff, or are we just hindsight being 2020 here?
To be quite honest, I do agree with Mortsy somewhat in saying that NuckleDu was the problem. He does play Cammy not traditionally, and I think if you're not comfortable with the Cammy matchup in your bones, like he should have been, because Cammy's super popular, I don't think there's a strong enough Cammy in his area as well, or he just doesn't know people that are that strong with Cammy. I feel very comfortable, so if I fought NuckleDu's playstyle, I would adjust in a way. I'm not saying I would do better or anything like that, but I feel like he lacked some matchup knowledge in that instance, because not only that, you saw in the corner, he would constantly back jump, and thank God NuckleDu didn't snipe any of them, because if you played an actual Cammy main, you would be dead already. Like, all of those would be sniped the instant he tried it, like CJ Truth, even Punk, who's not a Cammy main, he would snipe it just based on reaction alone.
CJ Truth would not let any of those go.
That can, yeah, 100%.
Crazy.
Exactly. So I think lacking matchup knowledge and what to do, he never held up forward in the corner, which I think was the better choice, but at the same time, NuckleDu's spacing was in a way to cage him so he couldn't jump out. But at the same time, he played really well. I just think lacking some slight matchup knowledge stuff. So even though it was a beating, I think he played really well for, his situation. But I don't think going with Akuma would have been a better choice because, it's not his main. I think Akuma dies faster to Cammy, obviously, and Nikali's speed and V-trigger dash is immensely good for making dive kicks whiff and whiff punishing or controlling space, and Nikali can do a lot of damage to Cammy as well.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting that you brought up the point of lack of matchup knowledge and experience. As far as I know, with regards to Wednesday night fights and at least the SoCal one, I actually don't know of any Cammys that usually crack that top 8 either. So I think it's really interesting that you brought that one up. Let's see if Up to Snuff can sort of right the ship going into tomorrow. Excuse me. We actually still don't know the matchups for tomorrow, but our Maybe we do. I'm not sure. Because, all right, there are only 6 teams. We should know the matchups for tomorrow. It should be all the ones that haven't been played yet. But more on that a little bit later. One more for the matchup between Team Gale and Team Frost. Check this clip out, guys.
Now he's going to be getting to use his main against another main with Knuckle Dew. So I don't know how many times they've interacted with each other.
I mean, it wouldn't make a difference, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he's getting full power versus full power. This is a time to show something right now.
Yep.
Right now, I mean, there's a lot of chances and times in the fighting game community where you don't get an opportunity to play somebody the caliber of Knuckle Dew. Not saying he hasn't before, but these are times where you get to an insight at how they think about certain matchups, and you get to like kind of gauge your own ability in this time, because they get to play multiple times here at the Street Fighter League. So you need to take this data and you apply it to something else. That way you need to go as far as you can, and he's looking like he's gonna go with the Cammy.
Not even going to use his main character, making a statement right now. I got to exercise all my rights here. I'm going to use my Cammy.
All right, so here's a very interesting thing. Knuckle Dew had Guile on the table. Both the commentators, Tasty Steve and Vicious, talked about having Guile, your main character, available for this particular set. It's not just for this particular matchup, but it was for the set. And we saw, while the Cammy pick did work out, as you saw earlier, with Knuckle Dew and Necalli, definitely didn't work out, as we saw in the first segment, with the G. Would Guile have done better overall, considering that he already knew G was on the table? Start with Mortsy.
A couple things. I don't know, unless you're super cocky, punk, then you can't pick based on the assumption that you're going to win. I don't think. Unless, like I said, you're incredibly confident in the matchup. That said as well, based on SplicedHelix's reaction to how he feels about the G matchup as Guile, I think that him picking Cammy was probably the right idea, because it just sounds terrible. I don't know the intricacies of the matchup, but the fact that the V skill just kind of beats all your booms sounds annoying. Level 2 kick being projectile invincible, mind you, in theory, ideally he's never going to have that if you're controlling. And if you do the normals, also G's normals are probably just better than Guile's in neutral anyways. Like, God, he's got some good buttons. So I think that him picking Cammy was the right idea. I think that him choking like a toddler was not the right idea. Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch. Indeed. All right, Geki. Do you agree with the Cammy pick, or should Knuckle Dew have gone elsewhere? There was a Rainbow Mika for him on the table as well, potentially. And probably another whole list of characters that he probably could have chose from.
I think he wanted to have a favorable matchup overall against the team. That's why he chose Cammy, because I think Cammy has a really great time against Rashid, as Mortsy can testify. And on top of that, beating Necalli as well. Very well in movement, in footsies, and all that sort of stuff, making Necalli feel very stubby with her normals. G obviously is the struggle, because G can kill Cammy very quickly with 1 or 2 resets, if that. And obviously he just believed he could do it, because Guile would be a tough match against G, of course, as SplicedHelix and Mortsy have talked about already. But I don't know. I feel he just feels confident with Cammy, and I definitely don't blame him for picking that character, because she, like I said before, she does have good matchups against most of the team, and the comfort level he has clearly is strong, aside from choking like a baby.
Wow, that is such a vicious reference. My goodness. We were talking about
things that choke.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. We already knew, based on who was picked previously and the player order, that Rashid was already off the table. Rob TV beat Dual Kevin in Game 1, and we knew that Nephew had already picked G in Game 2. SplicedHelix, I know how you feel about the matchup, but do you think Knuckle Dew's particular Guile could have done better against G?
I mean, I wouldn't have choked like that, because I wouldn't have gotten that far. I wouldn't have been in a situation to choke because it wouldn't have been that close. It's a rough matchup unless you read every single thing he does perfectly. He's got the stupid flippy kick that goes over booms. You throw booms from across the screen, and he just V-skills them. He gets V-trigger, and you block. If you're lucky, you can throw in an EX flash kick. If you're lucky. And, if he feels the same way I do, I have no idea. I've never heard him talk about the G matchup. But if he feels it's a bad matchup, that's an absolutely good pick, because if I had somebody else to play against G, I absolutely would, but I don't, so...
Well, I guess the only time will tell if G becomes more of a threat going down the road. Definitely a lot of work put in on the part of Nephew to OCV Team Gale. The panel majority pick of Team Gale looked not as strong as we thought. Very interesting. We'll see how this plays out a little bit later on. That's it for Spend It or Save It. Let's get to the final round, and let's talk about Team Spirit and Team Psycho. Here's the first clip.
I mean, there you have it. There's the Bison band coming up for you guys again, but that also happened before. How do you feel about that, and what band are you guys going to put for their team?
The ban is irrelevant at this time. I feel that my team can definitely pull their own weight. And honestly, we're going to be banning Karen. It's not going to be Manat. And it's because my team is mad confident that they can body Justin's Manat. I'm like, y'all, this is Justin. They're like, yeah, he's obviously Justin Wong. But they're like, both of us can body him.
All right. What? Team Psycho, Captain Toy, showing a lot of confidence in his team for this particular matchup, going as far as to say the ban is irrelevant. Put yourself in Toy's shoes. Would you have opted to ban Manat instead, or take your chances with Justin's Karen? Start with Mortsy.
Hell yeah. So, Team Psycho was banking on getting Chakotay to play against Manat. Mika crushes that character. Mika has a very favorable Manat matchup. So they were probably banking on, one, Chakotay winning, which you can't... I'm not saying you can't bank on Chakotay winning. I'm just saying you can't bank on, anyone winning in general, if that makes sense. You can't go in under the assumption that, okay, it doesn't matter about this matchup, because there's no guarantee that you're going to end up getting it. So you I don't know if, I think it's understandable to do that hot take, and we're kind of expecting it. It's like the same kind of assumption that we're expecting one team to go, we can take Adam Laura, or we can take Toy Bison. We don't need to, we can deal with it. And I'm happy that teams are starting to take that risk. I don't remember whether or not that came into play a lot. I mean, Jaywon, okay, he beat 2 people. Yeah, that actually sucks, because the only person that Jaywon didn't have to play was Chakotay.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks. But Toy did put up a fight. So it is to say there are cracks, and they almost, their strategy almost paid off. If either of them had been able to beat, well, I guess Just a Kid lost 2-0. But as if Toy came so close, dude. That's I'm eating my words.
It's really interesting, actually, that Toy actually took a round, or a game, off of Justin's Manat, so maybe showing that his confidence, not only in his team, but in himself. He called himself Best Birdie NA, which I thought was hilarious, is warranted. But, I mean, if you think the ban is irrelevant on Manat, why wouldn't you target any of the other 2 players on Team Spirit? SplicedHelix.
Justin's Karen is good, but it's nowhere near his Manat. There's 3 words. Always ban Manat.
Okay.
I'll have something to say after Geki does his point.
Okay. But I guess short and sweet and to the point there was SplicedHelix Geki. Would you have banned another character from another player if you didn't care about the Manat ban?
Well, like Mortsy said, I do agree that they were banking on El Chakte.
Kote.
Chakotay. My God, I'll never do that to save my life. But I think banking on one player matchup to happen when there's 3 people on a team, it's not like a 50-50 chance. It's like, it's just not very likely at all. And not only that, he still has to play him and beat him, right? So if you're banking on that, I mean, I know you got the best birdie in North America, right? And he did finish the demonstrations finally in the, the trial mode. So I think that's why he got a game off Justin, because he understands birdie's neutral and tool set a little better instead of just watching matchup videos of Fudo, But yeah, I don't think you can ban anyone else except Karen, which is valid, but I think Karen beats the other characters except for that birdie that was so amazing. So
I was about to say that the Karen Birdie matchup, many Karen players have attested to the fact that this is heavily in the favor of Birdie as well. So maybe on the off chance that Justin had to pick Karen, it might have worked out for Toy. Mortsy, your point from earlier.
I was going to bring up that it has been very, I guess, maybe Chakotay has a very hard time, I think, against footsie-based characters. We saw the Balrog here, where I guess it was still 2-1. So it wasn't that bad, but we could see the kind of struggle that Chakotay was having to get in, especially once Brian F. in that last game where he just kind of had a solid read on how Chakotay was trying to get in. But after watching our Frosty Faustings, when Chakotay was on winner's side and he just got freaking disemboweled by Punk and the Karen matchup. And also, although it's after the point, he also lost to Nasser at Northwest Major. So Chakotay struggles personally, and the other two might just not feel as confident against Jaewong's Manat as they would, against the Karen as they would against the Manat, evidently, because Toy brought it close. Like what they did, they almost won.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still close. If Chakotay or if Toy had been able to take out the Manat, then they most likely would have won the set because they had both Justikid and Toy's birdie to deal with Brian F.
Geki.
I just wanted to point out, because we haven't even talked about it, but I think the best player on this team is Justikid. Mm-hmm. His confirms are literally Punk-like, in my opinion, and his pressure, his awareness in matchups, like the subtle nuances he does in every matchup against every player, he just does things that no one else tries or calls out, and it works like 90% of the time. I think I don't know what it is, but I think maybe it could be a mental thing, and it could be maybe playing on such a big stage in, under, pressured circumstances. But I think because since Bison is most likely getting banned every single time, maybe the birdie might get banned, since it's the best in North America. But Justikid's jury is incredibly threatening, and he almost destroyed. The rounds were close against Justin. It's just he just couldn't outlast basically.
All right. We will get more to the point because our final topic is actually on Justikid's jury. But Mortsy, something to say real quick.
Yeah. I don't think Justikid is the strongest person on the team. I still think Toy is. It's just we're never going to get to see him at his full potential, just because we're never seeing Bison. Like
as long as
Toy
Bison's fan.
Yeah, Toy looks weak because he's playing a character. He looks like Geki has reiterated many times. He just finished the trials,
but he's number one.
And yeah, he did better than most birdies are ever going to do against Justin's Manat. So what are you going to say, right? He's still doing things. He's doing better. He did better than Idom did against JB. It's still, I personally think Toy is still the strongest player on the team. It's just, like I said, he's never going to play his main character.
All right, SplicedHelix, was there the last word there, or are we good?
No, I was just agreeing. As long as Bison's banned, Justikid is the best player on the team.
All right, so now one last clip for you guys. We're going to be closing out the show with this topic. The aforementioned Just a Kid looking like a grown-ass man. Take a look.
Team Psycho. On match point versus Team Spirit's Brian F right now, who has one more player after this. Is none other than a full power Justin Wong. Toy talked about his team feeling really confident against Justin and his Monat, hence the reason they didn't ban it. We're gonna find out though. Nice anti-air, switches sides.
He walked out of the throw.
She had her head turned and everything. Oh, that's the back throw. Old throw reset. Kick. Spin a little bit of that V trigger. Not much left.
Oh my
Brian
goodness.
F just holding back. What an air to air. 52 seconds left on the clock. Just a kid in full control right now, but he still can lose this round. No trigger available for Brian F. With these dash punches, these buttons are not gonna stop him from going down.
All right, so we talked about, or Geki touched on it just a little bit. That was just a taste of what Just a Kid almost did for the second week in a row. We saw him in week 1 dominate and essentially OCV Team Storm, which we thought, okay, maybe a toss-up. Weakest team in the tournament now against a proven, well, I guess they didn't look so good in week 1, but still a proven, strong, competitive team in Team Spirit led by Justin Wong. Just a Kid in the same situation had to try and OCV an entire team. He got 2 of them. We talked about it last week. Does Just a Kid's jury warrant a ban to change the fortunes against Team Psycho? Geki.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you're uncomfortable, or if 2 out of the 3 people on your team are slightly uncomfortable with the jury, ban him. Ban that character, because Just a Kid is such a big threat. And I also noticed in that matchup clip that Just a Kid plays very counter poke heavy, and Jury's counter hit combos are so devastating in the right hands. And I mean, he's just a kid, but he's gonna make life a nightmare for everybody against the opponents. So, yeah, definitely, if you feel it, I think they should go for the ban, because you'd severely hurt Just a Kid, because definitely his other characters are nowhere near that level.
Mortsy, we keep talking about the strength of this toy bison. We've seen it online. We know how good it is. Do you risk letting it go through because Just a Kid is dominating everyone else right now?
We've seen it offline too at an event last year that I can't remember, somewhere in, I don't think it wasn't Texas Showdown. It was another event that, what was that?
Mid-South?
Sorry?
Mid-South Championships?
Maybe, but he was 6th on the CPT for a reason, wasn't he? Or no, was he 5th? Yeah, he was 5th, sorry. Yeah, it was Nephew who was 6th, because he picked last. The dude is super, super strong. Also, can we just talk about Jury has an automatic buffer button in medium kick that is 5 freaking frames? And if it doesn't get the buffer, then the special that isn't safe on block doesn't come out, and instead it just turns into a long-range poke. This button's dumb, dude.
Yeah, that's 100% fair.
But
yeah, no, continue.
on the actual topic, I still think you ban Toys Bison. We haven't seen it prove its worth, and I do think a team is going to let it slip at some point, because they're like, we haven't seen it. We don't know if it's any good. I mean, they probably have an idea because they've seen it before in tournament, but they still might go, we can take it. He hasn't gotten to play it in a little bit, as in since today. Some team is going to be like, we're going to let it slide. It's probably going to be Team Inferno, because cocky again.
I think Team Frost as well.
You think so?
Yeah, because those characters destroy Bison.
Interesting. Okay, so that's a very good point then as well. It's gonna depend greatly on the character matchups as well. But I still think that a lot of the time we're still gonna be seeing the ban on Toys Bison. Just a Kid does warrant a ban. It's just that Toys Bison is also a very strong ban that has worked. So yeah.
All right, SplicedHelix, is there a greater risk in letting Toys Bison go through and banning Just a Kid? Just sort of based on what we've seen these past 2 weeks, Just a Kid is 5-1.
I mean, the kid's good. He's good, but so far, the Bison ban has proven effective. You basically take a player out of the fighting. You take out Toy's Bison. He has a birdie. His birdie hasn't won more than one game the whole time he's been playing it.
Against Justin's Monat.
True.
Fair
But
point.
that's just this week.
Yeah, true.
Last week he lost. As long as they keep banning Bison, he's not going to win his matchup. And Just a Kid, while unproven and while Jury might be sketchy for some people, not having a whole lot of knowledge, it's either maybe his secondary is going to just be completely garbage like Toys, or number one birdie NA, or he's you've got the proven thing with Toy. You ban Toy's Bison, he has to play birdie, or whoever else that he also hasn't completed the trials with.
Wow. Okay. I lost my train of thought. I had another thing to follow up with, and you just erased it with that entire statement. With regards to just matchups, we talk about Bison and having particularly terrible matchups. It was brought up in the chat by Geki when Benoit had just asked. Shoutouts to Benoit. But we saw at Northwest Major, specifically Mortsy and myself, we saw how badly Colleen destroys Bison. I believe it is going to be Team Psycho against Team Frost. We have not seen that matchup yet, correct?
There have been aren't there still a lot of matchups we haven't seen? It's only the...
Sorry, never mind. I keep thinking... Never mind. So there are still there are still plenty of potential matchups that we don't actually know about. But aside from Inferno, is there any other team that would potentially consider letting Toy get through with Bison? Start with Geki.
I think Team Gale, but at the same time, I don't know. It's really hard to say because Toy hasn't really had time to shine with his Bison, but at the same time, I think with how severely you hurt the team by keeping Bison away and making Toy play that amazing birdie that we all love to watch. The thing is, I know Just a Kid has secondaries, and they're definitely much more practice. Like, he's completed the trials, he's level 50 with the character online, you know what I mean? So he has a few matches under his belt, if you know what I mean. But, I don't think we'll ever see the Bison in this entire tournament. We might see Laura from IDOM, for example, from Team Storm. But I think, it's extremely likely that we'll never, ever see Bison in this whole tournament.
I wish Capcom would dive into the whole esports thing a little bit farther and put out graphics, put out a schedule, put out the week of this team's fighting this team and this team's fighting this team, but we just go into it blind every single.
There aren't really any storylines no narratives that are being created. It doesn't feel like, and when they are created, it's more just because Punk is stirring up shit.
Because Punk's being Punk.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's fantastic. And Toy popping off. Can you imagine if Toy wins the game? Or wins like a set? Oh my god, dude. He did a cartwheel when Just a Kid OCV'd his opposing team. What happens if he wins?
He'll do a backflip.
He'll Psycho Crusher full
He'll do
speed.
a backflip!
Oh my goodness. I remember what my point was now, before SplicedHelix accidentally erased it with his statement. With the strength of your win being important in terms of standings, as we saw at the end of week 1, why wouldn't you consider banning Just a Kid's Jury? Or is that not something that you factor in when you're trying to determine your matchups? Mortsy. Yeah, why wouldn't you ban Jury, if the strength of your win is important?
Because you are concerned that you get OCV'd by Toy Bison. Like, the not banning, and the other thing, I guess Helix touched on briefly, was that Just a Kid has, and I think Geki also touched on it, but Just a Kid has stronger secondaries than Toy does. Far stronger. Although it seems like he's getting tons of birdie practice, which he's going to. Toy's going to come out of this with a sick birdie. It's basically what we're getting at here.
deciding match in the whole thing is going to be Toy versus Idom.
Yeah.
Oh man, last word for this one, SplicedHelix.
I don't have anything else to say. It's all the same stuff that I've already said. I wouldn't take the chance. I would ban.
Okay. So that'll do it for us this week here on Beyond the Fist. Don't forget to tune in to twitch.tv/CapcomFighters, youtube.com/CapcomFighters, and facebook.com/CapcomFighters to follow all your SFL and Capcom Pro Tour news and matches. All of our video footage used courtesy of Capcom as well, so thank you very much. Thank you to the panel for joining us today. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. Nerf G, hashtag Nerf G. We'll see if that comes into play for us tomorrow. If you guys have questions for the panel, questions for myself, anytime that we're going to be doing the sort of pre-production sort of streams, you can ask us in chat. You can also tweet at all of us. You see all of our Twitters there on the display. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.